What's going on, guys? My name is Ryan Spath, and I'm a realtor and investor here in the Treasure Valley. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams Boise, and my wife and I have achieved financial freedom through real estate. Every week, I'm putting together videos to show you, the listener, the easiest way, in my opinion, that you can get started, which is purchasing a house hack with an FHA loan. No, you don't need to get started this way. However, the principles to analyze and underwrite any deal are basically the same. And as you can see by the screen, this investment cash flow breakdown is the sheet that I've used for literally years to analyze every rental property that I have, and most of them that I've also helped my clients purchase too. So without further ado, let's jump right in here, you guys. We're gonna separate this. I didn't do any prep for this. I don't know. We're just going to kind of learn together and see what's on the market today. If you've been following me for any time, you know that I'm a big fan of homes. It provides a lot of data for just the average user if you don't have access to the MLS. So let's look in Ada County. So I'm literally just going to type in Ada County here. The filters, I'm going to scroll down, click multifamily. And let's just see what we've got. Let's see what's new on the market here. See if there's anything worth diving into, if it would make sense for anybody. A lot of higher priced items. Nothing really new is in Ada County at the moment. Okay. Let's hop over to Canyon and see if anything looks interesting. So same thing, we're gonna want to hop in this filter, select multifamily. Looks like there's 30. Okay. What's this guy that we have favorited? Okay, this will work. So where is this in Caldwell? So you can see, okay, here, Blaine, Cleveland. Okay, yeah, this is a really good location. So Indian Creek Plaza is right here. Here's the interstate. Here's the tracks. So I personally like this area. This guy looks like it's relatively close to the college. Where is the college? I don't see it on this map, but regardless, it's close to this area. This is a good part of Caldwell. I personally like this Indian Creek area, all this stuff in this vicinity. Anything on this side of the tracks is something that I'm in favor of. So let's dive into this one. Let's see what we've got going on here. So 1523 Walnut Street, Caldwell, 6-bed, 3-bath. Says it's an excellent investment opportunity in this well-maintained duplex. Unique layout. 3-2. Unit 2 includes a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. So let's look through this. It looks like someone purchased it recently and might have done a little bit of interior renovation. Maybe some type of conversion. Okay, here's the basement. So something we would want to check out. This I can tell by looking. This is not an egress window. Neither is this. If this is the basement, so that would definitely need to be. Oh, this is okay. Here you go. So that will likely meet the egress requirements. So nice little property, right? So let's dive into this guy a little bit deeper. So this guy's 425K. As always, we are going to assume that we are an FHA buyer and we're putting 3.5% down. I know just from working with people recently that the rate is going to be right in this 5.5%. If we're able to negotiate any type of concession whatsoever. A concession is something that when we look at this property, like let's check this guy out real quick. So this has only been on the market for 13 days. So the likelihood of getting any type of negotiation is a lot lower. We could dive into the market dynamics and I can kind of show you something here real quick as well. Where are these guys at? So these market dynamics are something that I find super helpful when you're trying to navigate the market. And this is something that we at Keller Williams are given. So this is, and these are in arrears, meaning we're 1 month back. So this is Canyon County existing. What zip code is this guy in? So this is an 83605. So this right here is what we're going to look at. So if we're looking here at this price point, so remember this property is $425,000. It's been on the market for about 13 days. So when we look at this price point here, we see the 4 to 500, the days on market 46, right? So if I'm the seller, I'm expecting this property to sit on the market for about a month and a half, just based on the data and the zip code and what it is doing. And then if we look here, the sold to list ratio, pretty much 99%. That pretty much means that on average in this zip code, properties between $400,000 and $500,000, which our subject property is, it's going for pretty much 99% of list price. So we're getting about a 1% discount on average. So what does that mean in layman's terms? For every $100,000, the market is suggesting that it's going to give up 1% or $1,000. So on this particular property, it would be reasonable to expect we would get, $4,200 to maybe $4,500 in some type of negotiation, whether that be concessions to help with the closing costs. We could also use that 1% towards buying this rate down. It's going to depend on the person's cash position, what they qualify for. And that's something that we're going to want to work closely with our lender on to kind of get a better idea of the particular client's situation. But I just wanted to kind of dive in this market dynamics because this is something that we would definitely want to consider when we're narrowing down our search and we're finding a property that we do want to write an offer on, because it's very valuable information. So diving back in here, we're not going, for this example, we're not going to assume that we are getting any type of concession or anything off the price whatsoever. I just want to start educating everyone on how we can use these things and what's happening in particular places in the Treasure Valley so people can know what to expect. So back on this example, 425, we're putting 3.5% down, which is just under 15K. The closing costs are going to be, I just have this estimated. You can see 2.5%. This is going to be 1 to 3%. These are just lender associated fees, prepaids, etc. And then beyond these costs, the only thing that the purchaser, are going to be required for out of pocket, you're going to have to pay for an inspection, which on a duplex is going to be anywhere from $500 to $1,000, depending on the age, the size, if you're going to get the sewer scoped, etc. And then you're also going to have to pay for an appraisal. And with an FHA appraisal, they're pretty much going to send someone out from the FHA, and they're going to make sure the value is there so it can be supported for the loan, right? We don't want to overpay for something if it doesn't appraise at 425. If they say it's only worth 375 based on comparables, there's going to be an issue and there's going to be a gap with this loan and it's not going to work. But they're also wanting to check and make sure the property is safe and habitable. They're going to make sure there's no peeling paint. They want to make sure, like I was talking about, looking at this particular property, the windows are up to egress if it's a basement unit, and the roof is of a certain age. They just want to make sure that first time home buyers are getting into a property and they're being set up for success, and there's no large capital expenditures right away. So back on this particular example, what's going on here? When we click on this guy, we're going to pull a little bit more information. So we see that the taxes are $2,403. So we just simply plug this in this little area. And then based on a client that I've helped out in Canyon County, this is a fair estimate for the insurance. I think it's going to be a little bit less, but we would want to get teed up with a good insurance partner and make sure that all of our requirements are being met, because this is going to be an owner-occupied property that we're also going to have a tenant on. So we're just going to want to make sure that we're properly insured. And then lastly, this is an FHA product. So there is going to be some mortgage insurance premium, MIP, and it's pretty much just like a percentage of the amount of money that you're borrowing. And this is going to be right around just a little under $200. So our all-in payment on this property is going to be $2,841.87 plus or minus. This is going to be dependent upon the borrower's credit and other things. We're going to want to get you dialed in with a trusted lender partner to get everything penciled in super exact. So when we read this guy, it says it was previously rented for $1,600. We always want to trust, but we do want to verify. So one of my favorite places to look for this is going to be Rent-A-Meter. It's kind of just a quick and dry place to start. So guys, we literally just copy and paste this address. And this is going to be where it gets a little bit tricky, right? Because it says that the top is a 3.2 and the bottom is a 3.1. And obviously, if you don't know, you're going to get more rent for a place with more rooms and more bathrooms. So for this example, we're just going to assume that we're going to rent the upper unit, and we're just trying to really cut down on our costs for our living. So you can see here, getting pretty good rents for this in this area, right? So the average, the median, 75th percentile. And if we were actually going to write an offer on this property, we're going to want to dig in on these properties and see, are these houses, are these apartments? Like you see, here's an apartment for $1,700. Here's another apartment for $1,266. And then you have some outlier houses that are $2,000 or more. So we would just literally take these. Let's do it real quick. So this guy, let's do this one. So we're just going to pull this address, and I just kind of cross compare to Zillow and see if what the product that we have is comparable to what this was. So we just do this, click on here. So it's a little bit larger, right? It's 1,700 square feet. Nothing too special. Just, it looks like it's a single family home, 2-story. And then when we look back on our subject property, yeah, so we're only 900 square feet, right? So I don't think we're not going to pull the same as something that's twice the size. So let's hop back on here and look and see if there's something that's a little bit smaller, kind of comparable to. So here we go. This one's 1,100 square feet. So when I plug this in, okay, another single family home. So single family homes are getting 1,800 to 2K. For this example, let's just rip with what they said on here. Let's say we're going to get $1,600, or yeah, 1,600. And then remember, we're house hacking this, so we're going to live in one of the units. So we're obviously not going to get any rent unless we're going to rent by the room, and we can kind of dig into that in a second. So let's look at all these numbers again. So we're purchasing, our acquisition price is $425. We're using an FHA loan. We're putting 3.5% down. Our total out of pocket is going to be right around $24,000, $25,500 actually. Our interest rate is 5.5%. Taxes we pulled from the listing. I'd know from helping other clients that the insurance is probably a higher estimate, but I always like to shoot a little bit high so that way we're pleasantly surprised. We know based on just a quick and dirty estimate that the 3.2 is going to rent for about $1,600. So when we look at all of this, and yes, we would want to account for vacancy, etc. But for this example, we're not going to do any of that neat stuff. We're going to assume that we're going to mow the lawn. We're not accounting for any repairs. We're just kind of running with this thing. What's going on here? This isn't pulling properly. So we'll just plug 0 here because we live here. So you can see it's going to cost us, before we have to pay for any type of electricity or anything, about $1,100, which if you're familiar with the rents anywhere in the Treasure Valley, to live in a 3-bedroom house for $1,100 is pretty much unheard of. And this doesn't take into account, let's say you were a recent college grad or a young professional and you're used to having roommates. Let's just assume that you could rent 2 of these rooms. Let's just say something super low, like $700. So you're going to get $1,400. Remember, you're going to live in one of the rooms yourself, so you can't rent all 3. So you're getting $1,400. So now you're getting paid to live in this property. So let's think about this. We're going to cut a check for about 25 grand. We're going to come out of pocket another, let's say $1,500. So $27,000. And we are literally going to get paid to live in this property if we're willing to be uncomfortable and we're willing to rent out 2 of the rooms in the unit that we rent in. So let's say we do buy into this. This is the great thing about this property. I think it's going to stand on its own. What do I mean by this? So let's say we have an idea of building a portfolio and we're going to use this one property as a foundation to build our investing career upon, right? We want to get 3, 5, 10 properties in 8, 12, 15 years, and we want to use this one as a foundation, as a building block. So let's say we can only rent this bottom unit for $1,500 because it only has a 1 bath, and we're going to get $1,600 for the top. So when we come back here, gosh, I don't know why this isn't plugging in. Let's say we're going to account for vacancy, 6% in Canyon County. Let's say we're going to pay someone to mow the lawn, and let's say we're going to just save up $100 for this, CapEx. I'm not sure why this isn't working today. And yes, there is a little bit more stuff, but just we won't get too far into the weeds. So you can see once we save up our money and we're going to move on to the next property, this guy's going to pretty much stand on its own. And these are just with quick and dirty rent numbers. We may be able to get a little bit more. We may get a little bit less. I'm not sure. We'd really want to dig into this. We'd want to go to the area and walk the property and see how close it is to the college, see how close it is to downtown, and check out the surrounding areas and what the properties around us are renting for. But at first glance, this looks like a great opportunity for someone that has, a little under $30,000 to invest. They want to get into a property. They're willing to. Yes, I can hear some people that I want to live in Boise. Who doesn't? But the reality of the fact is, if we make sacrifices today, tomorrow's going to be a lot better. My wife and I, we've been married for 9 years this March. We have moved 7 times in 9 years. One of the moves was actually to Florida while we had 2 small children. We moved to Florida. While we were in Florida, we moved again to another property, and then we decided it wasn't right for our family, so we moved back to Idaho. So if you're willing to make a little bit of a sacrifice and maybe go a little bit further than you want to, remember guys, if we're trying to build a portfolio, we're going to have to get just a little bit uncomfortable and just do things and think a little bit differently than other people. Again, guys, my name is Ryan Spath. I'm a local realtor here in the Treasure Valley with Keller Williams. I'm an investor. My wife and I amassed a portfolio. We have 10 properties, a dozen doors, and it gives us a substantial cash flow. So that way I can use my expertise to help you get into the game. I would love to serve you. I'd love to help you. I hope you found this video of value. If there's any answers that I can make or any introductions or any way that I can help you, I would love to. Please feel free to send me a DM, give me a call, and I hope to see you out there.